Yeah, I don't know what's going on with your internet.
Let me cut my teeth.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to
Here
We
we
Have
are.
Something to Say with Kenneth Lively and Leonard Watkins. I want to say,
Since people are calling them the inventors, they are taking this title and fully.
I'm saying, sure, Kenneth got to get us all this feedback.
Inventing
Uh,
us in.
I want to say I got a lot of good feedback from last week's show. So many other people who participated, John Marshall, Bruce, Kenneth Lively, and Leonard Watkins. People were happy to do the show. Kenneth, you got me up. You got your Facebook account up. That's where some of the feedback's coming from. Kenneth's having some technical difficulties, but we'll keep going until he comes on board. Anyway, the last week's show that delved into men's health
big time this morning
seemed to have struck a chord with some people. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to start. And I get it. People are kind of fatigued about politics, even though we can't afford to be fatigued about politics. But we're going to try to mix it up a little more with politics, more like probably men's health. Ken was off again, so we'll wait for him to come back again. More about men's health. What some of the things you're doing to try to stay active, stay healthy as you approach your 60s. And we'll do more. I don't think we're going to do relationship stuff per se, but I think we're going to delve into communication between the sexes as you get older, and just general well-being of males and females. And that seems to be the new thing right now. Is good morning, Diana Robinson. That seems to be, hopefully Kenneth will be back. I guess I'll be rolling solo for about 30 minutes. I don't like doing this show by myself for an hour. It's a lot to pay attention to the post and try to talk at the same time. Did y'all feel the earthquake? I know this has nothing to do with the topic. There was an earthquake this morning? No, I didn't feel it this morning. That's wild. I didn't know there was an earthquake this morning. Where them fans at? Boots on the ground, mouths don't. What? I want to start off by saying one thing, but we're definitely having some internet problems. But the weather is kind of janky up here, so bear with us. Bear with us here a little bit. I don't know how it is in Augusta. I watched the little bit of politics I want to deal with today. I watched the clip of Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut, jumping into Kristi Noem's ass yesterday or Thursday about the Homeland Security Department. And I was just sitting there screaming, going, I understand what you're trying to do, but so what? Who's going to check me? At some point, we're going to have to figure out soon, very, very soon after this administration, because they're going. We all know that they're going to try to make this as permanent as possible, with them staying in power as long as they can. And like I said, we don't have to talk about this all day, but at some point, they're going to have their own enforcement arm. They're going to have their own enforcement arm. If the Capitol Police and the Senate and the head of the Senate and the Speaker of the House are not willing to use Capitol Police to arrest and to put people in the jail down below for disregarding American laws, this shit is over. This shit is over, because what you're getting right now is a president and an administration who's willing to basically say what Andrew Jackson said a long time ago, and they should have dealt with it a long time ago. Who gonna check me, boo? You don't have an army, you don't have any enforcement arm. And why an enforcement arm? And they keep checking the fence to see how far they can go. There's no rule of law. It's just that damn simple. And somebody needs to pay and be prosecuted for the behavior of this administration. And I've made my decision up. If you aren't going to be pushing for that as a candidate in whatever races you're running to fight back, I'm not voting for you, because we've done this now. We've done this since the Civil War. We didn't punish the Confederacy. Nobody had to pay a price. Not Andrew Jackson. None of those guys. Was it Stevens? None of those guys had to pay a price Ford didn't want to make Nixon pay a price. They would split the country. And now we're here. We're here. We're here because every damn millennium or every 50 years, you're going to have some asshole that wants to push it back towards fascism. And I saw a guy the other day in Hungary, a philosopher from Hungary who's real active, where, what's that fool's name? The head of Hungary, who Donald Trump seems to be enamored with. And he was on the street with Alex Burke, and he was saying the real danger in a democracy is people normalizing it. Like we all at restaurants, like Roland Martin said, we all go to brunch, we're all taking vacations because you're looking for a break for it. But that is the real danger in people accepting the status quo. It becomes normal until they come for your ass. Like I just saw a clip yesterday of ICE and Dorchester police pulling over a lady and her 16-year-old daughter in Newbern. And they had like 30 cops out there. 30 cops. Kenneth says my internet is acting up. Just keep trying to come back in, Kenneth. Because I can hear your voice, and we know you. We know you got that cheap internet, so we're not taking any jabs at you. That's if they don't pay a price for it, if they don't pay a price for it there, I can't hear anything you're saying. You can't hear anything I'm saying on your screen, on your Facebook page. Damn you. Don't look like I'm the one that's damned today, brothers. Looks like that's you. Just bring your ass back on it. Move to another part of the house. Why don't you go sit on the porch? If nobody has to pay for it, habeas corpus denial. That's going to be a huge hill for them to jump over to suspend habeas corpus. I see them floating it, but that's their MO. They always float some shit out there to see what the response is going to be. That we should be used to that by now. But last thing I'm gonna say is about politics. That's why I don't like light-skinned people. You are light-skinned. Last thing I'm gonna say about politics is me and Bruce have a totally different viewpoint about what Black people should be doing right now. And I tell you, every time I have these conversations, I'm talking in the strictly narrow focus of what I think African Americans should do. And I saw a video there of a young guy going, "It's working. That's sitting out, it's working." And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, what the hell you see that at?" And it dawned on me to look pre-1950 to see if Black folks had ever sat it out, or if they had not participated. And the truth of the matter is we tried this before. We tried this before for the mere fact that we were too scared to get out there, for fear of what some of the stuff they're saying right now, for fear of getting beat up, for fear of getting lynched. And it didn't move the needle. It did not move the needle. Until you start having Asa Randolph calling for these massive strikes with the pull-up porters, it didn't move the needle. And people had to get out in the street. They had to get out in the street and demand what they were asking for. And they knew that there was a possibility that they could get hurt, they could get beat. Hell, for all y'all people saying, sit this one out, what do y'all think the Birmingham Children's Movement was? What do you think the March to Selma was? It was people getting out in the streets because they knew it wasn't going to move the needle. If they didn't get out in the streets and do something, it never was going to change. And so what they're counting on, in my opinion, I just rather you tell me you're scared. Like Richard Pryor said one time, I get it. Who the hell want to get out there and get arrested and get beat? Who? I don't know if you think that the students of SNCC wanted that. I don't know if you think Diane Nash, James Bevel, John Lewis wanted that. But that's what right, young folks got onto the streets. That's what changed the needle. This wasn't this shit y'all doing. Y'all are watching the erosion of anything Black in your whatever it is you calling. I'm gonna sit this one out. You're watching it. You're watching it. You're watching it. Because honestly, you say, well, I don't want to fight for other people. Truth of the matter is, Black rights in America are always going to be tied to other people's rights. You just might as well accept that. You just might as well accept that. Your rights are always going to be tied to other people's rights. You can't get away from it. Whatever you fight for is going to be beneficial to somebody else. But if you don't fight for it, nobody's going to fight for it for you. I watched the head of the Bezos Foundation. I watched another thing on him talking yesterday. He's Irish. And they had this symposium, I guess, with all these people. I guess Sinners, the movie is creating all these conversations about Irish and Blacks. And he's Irish, and he's the head of the Bezos Foundation. And he was talking about being Irish, and he started talking about when the Irish came over here, they were sometimes treated worse than African Americans. But what he did say was they survived because of African Americans. They survived because of the generosity of African Americans. So then they were called the Black Irish. And he said at some point they became a part of the system, just like Senator said, and they no longer were oppressed because now they could become white. And the moderator of the symposium said, and that's been the difference. Black folks have never been able to become white. They've never been able to move into the white stratosphere in a white dominated society, in a white dominated system of structure. And one of the things I know is sometimes we have this tendency to think that those people weren't smart. Those people who got in the street weren't smart. Those people were brilliant. They were brilliant. They were just brave. They were really, really brave. When you read The Children, the book, or listen to it on audio, Diane Nash talks about how all of them had wheels. They talk about how all of them had wheels. Diane Nash, who I say her name all the time, who doesn't get enough credit. Diane Nash told a Mississippi judge, you should go ahead and put her in prison. And she was 4 months pregnant. She was like, I might as well have my baby in prison. They're going to be in a prison outside of prison. And the judge didn't want that publicity in Mississippi. So he suspended her sentence, and Mississippi didn't want that. And the big change, the big change was it was television. Yeah, I was about to say that. The crackdown television being shown around the world moved the needle. Now the highest rated news medium is Fox. They spun this hell out of BML protests to the point too many in this country. Actually, absolutely. I agree with you on that. Absolutely. I was about the medium at the time, the civil rights movement, and those kids, let's be clear, those were youngsters from college students up to Martin Luther King. We always got to remember Martin Luther King was only 26 when they asked him to come in, understood the power in the medium of television. Absolutely. Absolutely. They talk about that in the book, The Children. They talk about that in Bearing the Cross also. They understood it. You're 100% right. But the question becomes for me, Don, now, okay, now that we know that, now that we understand and we know that, how do we, and I think the bigger question for me is, let me ask that. Now that we know that, it's the apathy of watching all of our work, all of our parents' generation's work, be so fundamentally dismantled without even a peep from us, because we keep saying we're sitting this out because our feelings hurt. I don't fucking get that. How do y'all? At what point? Hey Stacey, at what point do you expect people to look out for your interests? See, what you really don't want to say is you don't like the fact that you are it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's a symbiotic relationship. We're in a symbiotic relationship with other people. I don't understand why people don't want to have that blunt conversation. If we don't fight for our rights, nobody is. And the problem is you don't like that by fighting for our rights, other people get to piggyback on us. I'm sorry, folks. That's just the fucking way it is. That ain't changing. The race was shame. Now they have no shame. Yeah, but just because they don't have no shame don't mean they're not going to keep taking shit. They literally went into the damn African American History Museum and Are you here? Your mic's not working. Your face is working. You looking good. You looking good, but I can't hear you. You look good. Well, look. I'm gonna translate for you. I'm gonna translate for you. I cracked myself up. He can't hear you. Where's your mic? The black folks, according to some, are too busy doing boots on the ground. There you go. There you go. There you go. I heard something. So my question to somebody like Don is can you show me quantitatively how you think this is going to work? I've asked Bruce this. How is it? And Bruce has told me, man, I'm tired of fighting for other people. That's Bruce told me. You something on your mic, because I hear you when you hit a button. I can hear it, but then it goes out. Why don't you get on your phone? Just use your phone for today. Just use your phone for today. I can't hear you. Use your phone. I can't hear you. Use your phone. All right. So, the question becomes, I'm loving this though, because I get to talk a lot. he can't interrupt me. So for y'all that don't know, I'm loving this. I'm loving that he tried to break in, because normally he break in and I just stop talking. I'm loving that he trying to break in, but we can't hear him, and I know it's killing him. Because y'all know how he like to give his opinion. I told you to use your phone 10 minutes ago. So my question becomes, and I said I wasn't going to talk about politics, but we're watching it in real time. We're watching how they're talking about taking funding for HBCUs. We're watching how they're going after. They have made the DC mayor and police department capitulate. Muriel Bowser has capitulated. She's like, I ain't having none of that smoke. The mayor of Newark yesterday, but I'm sending him some money. The mayor of Newark said, fuck that. You're going to arrest me. But I'm not going to let this happen. You're going to arrest me. But look, I am sympathetic to I went to a march 3 weeks ago, and it was very few of us down there. It's funny because we ended up on Piedmont and 10th Street, which is where that real popular breakfast spot is for black folks. I always wonder why it's so popular. And it was full of black folks at 10th and Peachtree, right where don't take this the wrong way because people get mad. Where it's the gay section of town. They really built up that area of town. They got the big rainbow flag in the street at 10th and Piedmont, blah, blah, blah. And you got black folks looking at me and my sister like, we were crazy. And I'm sitting there looking at them like they crazy. No, I can't hear you. I can't hear nothing. So the question becomes, we have a symbiotic relationship. And unless y'all can show me some way to break away that symbiotic relationship and still thrive in America, I like to see it. We can't even agree to boycott. We can't agree to even boycott some things. So you need me to send you another invite, Kenneth? Because I can send another one. So we have some decisions to make, and we better make them quick, because the first 100 days are gone. Your phone's not working either. The phone won't bring it up. We got some decisions we really got to make. And Don Marshall, it's not. I want to read what Don has to say. It's not the want that's the issue. I think back a couple of weeks ago, I broke down and started Facebook plugging because I actually reading someone comment on a Bernie King post. They had the audacity to try and tell her what her father's fight was about. They feel comfortable because media is convinced them black folks fighting for their rights is racist. So the financial boycotts are the new strategy. No doubt. I can't disagree with that. What I will say is this. So what's her name? Let me find out her name. There's a book out that's not real publicized that Roland Martin made. I heard it on Roland Martin, so I went and brought it. And it's by the architect. I heard a little bit. You came in and went out. I did hear a little about you. Came in and you went back out.
Hello?
Okay, I can hear you now. Say it again. Say it again. We having test on it. Joanne Robinson. Joanne Robinson wrote a book. It wasn't well publicized. Joanne Robinson was the architect of the Montgomery boycott. Hands down. Joanne Robinson's idea. She talks about in the book about where she got the idea. She talks about how the movement moved up. I can hear you now.
Today.
I can hear you now.
I see this shit.
I can hear you now. You got to shorten your plug. So Joanne Robinson talks about in the book, which I didn't know until I read the book. Huh?
I ain't got nothing to do with that. It's the internet.
Only Kenneth, y'all. So Dara said Joanne Robinson talks about the completeness of the boycott. The completeness. I would recommend you get the book. The book is only like $12. And the completeness of the boycott and how the boycott led. And here's the thing that I didn't know. The boycott started right during the Christmas season on like December 4th. And she talks about why she did it, how they recruited Martin Luther King, who was reluctant to do it, and the completeness of the boycott, like how it affected everything, how they literally were public shaming other African Americans into not getting on that bus. There we go. That's what I need. There you go.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. Listen. I've been listening to your bullshit for the last 20 minutes.
My man.
23 minutes I've been listening to.
Wait, Kenneth, you see what Marion said? You see what Marion said?
What? I ain't see what he say.
He said it's got the lively using AOL.
He would know. He invented it.
So look, go ahead. Let me go ahead and do what you gotta do. Give me 10 seconds. I gotta take care of something right quick. So I'm just probably go ahead, talk.
All right. So I know I got the mic. About damn time. Check this out, y'all. What Leonard is saying, the why we aren't marching, and I understand. I say this. Going back to the 50s and the 60s, especially the 60s, the needle was changed. The world was changed. America changed because they were embarrassed by what was going on. By somebody said, I don't know who it was, said the television brought out all of the stuff that all of America's hypocrisy. We're fighting for democracy around the world, but we don't have black people in the United States are treated poorly. That embarrassed them. At this point, those racists don't care. They really don't care. So marching does not embarrass them because they can't be embarrassed. They have no shame. They have no shame. Think about this. You had, I think they said a couple of weeks ago, there were 13,000, May 1st, there were 13,000 protests around the country on a weekday, 13,000 protests around the country. You think Donald Trump and his minions give a damn about that? They don't. You have judges who are ruling against him on a daily basis, constantly, over and over. He does not give a damn. He doesn't care. So you can march till your ankles bleed, till there's nothing left but ankles. He does not care. Now, I agree with Don. Now, that's not to say that we should give up marching. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But what we should do is stop giving these people our money. We can, as I've said so many times before, and then you've agreed with me on this. We don't always have to take the same path to get to where we want to go, as long as we get there. So if you want to march, those, the people who are finally feeling this and finally realize, oh shit, the black people were right. Um, if you want to get out there and march with them, go right ahead. But we also need to do other stuff, and the other stuff includes economic boycotts. And Leonard, I'm kind of sort of leaning toward where your position that you've had for the last 2 years about not giving them our black bodies. Uh, I've said this. So I was looking at something last night. Two things yesterday that were extraordinary commentary. One was Kamala Harris. She said she had a while ago had an interview, I guess before the election. I don't know if it was before she got elected in California or for the Senate or ran for president, or I don't know where it is. But she was saying that she was talking about her sister went to an Ivy League school, at Stanford or something like that, and these well-known PWIs, and how she just went to Howard, or she only went to Howard, and they were implying that Howard was less than. And this is a woman who's very accomplished, and she could have gone to Howard Law School, but she went to another law school in California. So, and basically she said something. Oh, well, let me go to the other one. Something that heard last night, something that Michelle Obama said. She said, hey, where I grew up at, it was my intelligence was nurtured by not only by my family, but also the community, blah, 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 all this stuff. And Leonard, you and I believe that too. We know that. We were raised in a village. And in that village, you had people encourage us along the way. It wasn't just our family. It was other people who were encouraged, who were inspiring to us, who were proud. When we made accomplishments, they were proud too. So she was talking about when she got to Princeton as an undergrad, how at first she was intimidated. And especially since they made her feel like she shouldn't be there. And she said, hey, my grades were good. I had all A's, but I wasn't good at standardized tests. So she felt like she shouldn't have been there. She said, hey, I definitely was an affirmative action admission. But when she got there, she thrived. She did her thing. And her first semester and every subsequent semester, if I'm not mistaken, all A's. And the people who were criticizing her for being an affirmative action admission, she had better grades than they did in the same classes. So I say that to say this. We need to send our black bodies, our black minds, our black brilliance to places that appreciate them. Not just for what they do on the athletic field. I know, Leonard, you've been preaching this for a while. Stop going to University of Alabama and all these other places and all that where they stripping your rights. Once your son who plays football, who's a football star, once he leaves that campus, he's just another young black male. All these places. We need to start sending our children to places where they're safe. Not to say there aren't issues on HBCU campuses. There are. God knows there were. I'm still upset about the shooting that happened on Tuskegee's campus during homecoming, and it wasn't even Tuskegee students. But they're trying to rectify that to make sure that does not happen again. And I applaud President Brown for doing that, making that step, and all other HBCUs should start making that step too, to protect our students when they're on campus from others. But that's the safest place for our kids. That's the safest place for them physically and mentally and emotionally. I've long said this, and I think I've told y'all this story once before, where somebody told me, well, black students when they go to HBCUs, they don't learn how to deal with the real world or something to that effect. I was so damn offended by that. Here I am, a product of 2 HBCUs, and at that time, 2 PWIs, and I was like, there was never a protest at Tuskegee or Morgan State when I was there. Because the students felt unsafe because they were told that they didn't belong. That never happened on those campuses. Now, we may protest because the dorms may be jacked up, or we don't like the food, or something like that, and legitimate reasons. But our students have never protested because they did not feel safe. And I have no sympathy. I really don't. For these I shouldn't say no sympathy because I think it's being overblown. This situation being overblown about Jewish students not feeling protected on college campuses. That's a bunch of bullshit. And how Trump is using that shit to suspend First Amendment rights, to deport people, to arrest people, simply for protesting. And they're foreign students. That's a bunch of bullshit. He didn't give a damn about black students being terrorized on those campuses. And black students have been terrorized on these campuses for over a century. This is not anything new. Disrespected for over a century. Imagine George Washington Carver. He went to the University of Iowa. I think it was University of Iowa. That he's from. He couldn't even sit in the classroom with his classmates. He had to sit in the hallway. Imagine that, having to sit in the hallway because the white students didn't want you in the classroom and the professor didn't want you in the classroom. So you could barely hear and you still had to be responsible for the information. The founders of my fraternity, the 7 gentlemen, as we call the Jewels, that founded Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. They created a study group just so they could study with each other because the white students did not want to study with them. To help each other out. They all had different majors for the most part. They weren't the same major, they had different majors. But they got together not only to help each other study, but as emotional support in a hostile environment. And this is Ithaca, New York. And now, let's say this. Ithaca, New York is, by no stretch of the imagination, a racist town. By no stretch of the imagination, not racist at all, for the most part, as far as I could tell when I was there. They embrace all cultures in Ithaca, New York. But on that campus is a different story. So these young men got together, created a study group, then the Literary Society, and eventually evolved into a fraternity, simply because they needed protection, emotional protection, mental protection. That's what they needed. They were all brilliant. They could handle the work. They made a little bit of help, but they were there actually just to support each other. So I really feel that it's time that, and I can't believe I'm actually agreeing with Leonard, that this is just messing up my head right now. We need to stop sending our sons and our daughters to play on their teams. We really do. We are generating, and this is, I love Dawn Staley to death. Oh my God, I've loved Dawn Staley since she played in college. I've always been a big fan of hers. But fuck the University of South Carolina. Let's be real. They love Dawn Staley and they love those girls because they win. If they were losing, Dawn Staley would not be the toast of Columbia, South Carolina. And I know a couple of people who graduated from the University of South Carolina.
Did you know her
Black
mom?
people.
Did you know her mom? That's like a homecoming for. Did you know her mom is from right below Columbia, South Carolina, near Orangeburg?
No, I didn't
That
know
she
she was from
had to
Orangeburg.
go to Philly. That her father had to leave to go to Philly. Her mom, her grandfather had to leave to go to Philly because of an incident. So it's like a homecoming for her. Her folks are from South
Full
Carolina.
circle. Yeah. And I like I said, I really and truly, they benefit from our black bodies and our black minds to
Everywhere
make
in the
them
world.
look good
Every,
everywhere, everywhere.
everywhere.
And
Everywhere.
I'm gonna go on something else that bothered me years ago.
Go ahead.
So
So you can answer
when
Don.
I can't even
Don,
read what
Don,
Don
I'm
is saying
sorry.
right now.
Don, I'm sorry.
So
You're an alpha, Don. You knew he was gonna sneak away to give us the history of the goddamn alphas in here somewhere. You know how arrogant y'all are, Don. You should have expected that. You probably over there cheering
that
for
ain't arrogance. That's truth.
Don. Probably
But
over there cheering for
seriously, in all reality, in all seriousness, that was the reason why they got
Absolutely.
together, and
Absolutely.
it's still something that goes on today. But what I was about to say was when my daughter was entering middle school, um, and we were living in Lithonia at the time, and I did not want her to go to Lithonia Middle School because the school was jacked up. Um, but we didn't want to go there. It was jacked up, and it was just crazy. Anyway, they were
Thank you, Don.
they were. I'm trying to get on Facebook Live now, so get on this thing so I can see what everybody's comments are because I can't see them.
He said it's the truth.
Um,
It did take a long
yeah.
segue though. Thank you.
Anyway, when my daughter was going to middle school, they were trying to get her to go to um Chambly Middle School on the other side. Now, this is the Chambly Middle School, in case y'all don't know, from Lithonia. It's an hour, at least an hour's drive in rush hour traffic, maybe more. Yeah, easily an hour.
Easily.
And they did not provide transportation or anything like that. So I would have to, or Felicia would have to get up early, drive her to Chambly, make sure Kenny got off to school, got on the bus and got to school, drive all the way to Chambly and have her there on time for school every day. That made no sense to me. I said, first of all, why would I take my talent, our talent, to another school outside of our district, outside of South DeKalb? And in case you don't know anything about DeKalb County, the northern part of DeKalb County is predominantly white. The southern part of DeKalb County is predominantly black. A lot of resources go toward the northern part of the county, as usual in most places like that. But there are some gems, some absolute brilliant students in South DeKalb. And they always want them to go to North DeKalb to make North DeKalb look good, the North DeKalb schools look good, and not improving the South DeKalb schools. That's how it is. But I said, I'll be damned if I put my daughter through all that stress, put us through all that stress, and getting her up there just so they can look good, just so the northern part of the county could look good, just so they could improve their numbers at their schools. Damn that. So she stayed in South DeKalb. We figured out a place for her to go, and she thrived. She did. She excelled. And I would put my daughters, and actually both my kids, their education, their knowledge, their abilities up against anybody from North DeKalb. And one girl who was in my daughter's class, I can't stand that girl. I couldn't stand the both of them. Oh, it was so, man, you think I'm arrogant. Boy, them two right there, I swear there was some arrogant people.
Well, you need to get your arrogant ass back to the point.
The point is this. The lady sent her daughter up to Chambly. She came back to South DeKalb for senior year, for her high school, because she realized it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So
I would say this to you. I see what Don is saying about Tesla, and that's
what do you think about Tesla?
He said that Musk has gotten really quiet when Tesla lost all that money. I agree. I still think Musk should be prosecuted. when this is all said and done, there needs to be a definitive committee, which they won't even let Democrats form a committee. Democrats need to do it outside. I posted this letter. Let me stay on point. What this lady said should be happening right now. All of us should be gathering information, just like the January 6th guys who jumped on the internet. All those people pulled through those tapes and were identifying people. We can't even, Kenneth, don't take this the wrong way, because it's not a personal attack. We can't even give up the NFL. So my point is, I don't know how effective it happens when you don't have the will to do it. When we have so many different opinions about how it should be done economically. You know, people, I'm sure you saw this, Ken. I'm sure you saw this time when people were talking about a Target boycott. So many people were like, what are you going to do with the black vendors who are in Target? You know, they shouldn't be punished. And when you look at the Montgomery bus boycott, when you read her book, or you listen to her book, and you can get it on audio, and she talks about the layers of the boycott, just the layers, and how it not only did it bankrupt the bus system, but she talked about how the folks didn't even go into, Montgomery was a sleepy town at the time, didn't even go into the downtown merchants during Christmas to shop, that they were putting off gifts for Christmas. And she was talking about how much of a sacrifice that was for black folks, because Christmas was the one time they could just let their hair down, they spent more money, blah, 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 blah. They didn't even go into the shops. So the merchants start complaining to the city council. The merchants are like, y'all are going to run us out of business if you don't resolve this. And that's how entrenched that racism was. She talked about the meetings they had with people to try to resolve it. It's a fascinating document if you get a chance to get it on Audible and just listen to it.
Well, this in response to that, and that goes along with the thing that I've said. Do what you can. Do what you can. It's I can guarantee you every little bit helps. And the fact that and also too, you throw into the mix these tariffs that that idiot has come up with that's making everything get more expensive. Now I can't afford to give anybody my money. Now the merchants are like, hold on, was it Target and Tesla and whoever else we targeted, we've turned our eye toward in terms of not spending money with. Now, on top of us boycotting them, now their bottom line is getting affected even more by these tariffs. So at some point, they're going to bend to our will. Just like it may take a year, like it did with the Montgomery bus boycott. It may take a year, but eventually we're going to win. And on the other side, on the other part of it too, you got the marching. You got the if you bring it to, like you said, like we were just talking about, not giving them our black bodies. And I will say this, we haven't talked about this too much, but the fact that Harvard gave Trump a big middle finger.
That's a big deal.
A big middle finger. It's a really big deal.
That's a big deal.
Really
no matter what you think
deal.
about Harvard, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and Harvard is not as just like Cornell, is not a bastion of liberalism.
That's a big deal.
No matter how you say it, no matter how you slice it, it is not. Those are very conservative organizations, institutions. They are very conservative. But
more billionaires have come out of Harvard than any other school in the country.
Right.
And I want you to finish that point.
I was going to say this. I saw the other day two things I saw about FAMU. One, I think it was their pharmacy program. They cut like $65 million out of that, or maybe it was Howard. They cut 65. One of FAMU, I know one of the two they cut $65 million. I know they cut something for both of them. But also, Trump is trying to put in place as president, or his MAGA supporters are trying to put in place in the Florida legislature, put in place a new president that's a MAGA supporter. And Will Packer, I saw something on him, and I think I reposted it on my Facebook page. Excuse me, where he was talking about how that can't happen. It can't happen. You can't have that. She is black, but she ain't the cookout black.
They want to
They want to
put her where? At Florida A&M.
As the president of Florida A&M, yeah, they're doing a presidential search, and they want to put her in place. Put her in there. The Florida legislature want to put her in there. She's a finalist, despite the fact that she has no background in education, no background in any type of administrative stuff. I think she's in real estate or something like that. And I don't even know if she has a doctorate. Let's say this.
What?
I'm going to say this. When the current president of Tuskegee, he went out and got his doctorate. I know this brother personally. I've heard this story. Just so he could come back to become the president of Tuskegee. He was qualified before that, from what I understand. He was qualified on every other way. He just didn't have a doctorate. He went and got a doctorate just so he could become the president of Tuskegee. And he had administrative experience because he worked for the Department of Education right after he retired from the Air Force. So here we are talking about someone who is unqualified in every aspect of being of all the. She's not qualified at all. Under no circumstances she qualified, but they're trying to put her in as the president of FAMU. That can't happen. It can't happen, man, because she will destroy that university. She will destroy it.
Here's what I want to ask you and Don and Marion and Stacy. And it's something Don posted up in the top. What is it about martial law that scares y'all so bad? The SNCC campaign and the Montgomery boycott, Selma, Birmingham, they decided to declare martial law in Selma. They told them, do not march. You will be arrested. You cannot jail 47 million people. See, martial law, what you're saying with martial law, I think what you're saying is martial law gives them the right to become violent.
It also suspends habeas corpus too.
Yeah, maybe, but would you start suspending
due process, all of that?
That means that you have to start jailing everybody and their mama. That's why the problem I have with the Democrats right now is this: Chris Murphy and them. The problem I have, even with our community, is call for a general strike, then just shut the whole thing down. They did it in Israel. They did it in South Korea. So when you say martial, he tried to declare martial law in South Korea. He sure did. He tried to declare martial law. You can't declare martial law with 3 or 4 million people in the street. The army, we do not have an army that's built for shooting the citizens. We don't. They're not opening fire. They will turn on each other. Every general knows that. The only way to, when you have somebody like Kash Patel yesterday being as arrogant as he was in his hearing yesterday, the only people that can stop it are the people. Now, for our community, I've said this, I'm so glad you come around to where I'm sitting at. For our community, I've always said it's been about bodies. It's been about bodies since we got here. You're talking scale. States could be, let's see, city could be override a federal. There was a means of redress. If anyone is struggling for basic grocery, we don't have bail money either. We never had bail money. We never had bail money. The people that were bailing out Black people were, in Birmingham, it was A.G. Gaston. In all the other country, it was Black businessmen who knew their parts, successful Black businessmen. We never had bail money. But that's the point. See, and Stacey, I'm glad you brought it up. The people who were marching knew they may have to sit in jail. They knew it. So what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing in your strategy is you're fearful of the consequences. And that's the difference between us and them. They were fully aware of the consequences. The SNCC students were fully aware that they might get coffee poured on them. They were fully aware that they were going, right, Marion? They were fully aware that they were going to get arrested at the lunch counters. If you go and read the book, and this is where I realize that so many people we have done a horrible job of what those people did. Wait a minute, children had nothing to lose at Columbia Place Social. That's why they were. No. You're missing the point. Go. I promise you. Go get the book, The Children. I promise you, and look at the strategy they talk about. The reason they sent children because there was many children were volunteering. The men of those communities did not want to send their children. They were former soldiers. The nuances, a lot of those men were former soldiers with World War II experience. The same replays, the Justice Department leadership. I keep bail money. Look, Stacey says she keep bail money because it could be subject to pop off any day. She said, you know that about her, Kenneth. They sent the kids they did send the kids because of TV. No doubt. I'm not, but the results were the same. The pressure and the consequences were the same. And with social media, it's worse now. TV won't help now. I disagree with that. I fundamentally disagree with that. Fundamentally disagree that TV won't help right now. I think they convinced y'all that TV won't help. And we still are losing. Like right now.
Hold on. Okay, you said they convinced us that TV won't help. What you mean that seeing protests on TV will help the situation?
Oh, absolutely. Images are still
see, that's the thing though.
Images are still the most powerful.
But Leonard, there's 13,000 protests in one day. Protesting his cuts and all this other, and he's still unmoved. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They know first of all, these racists that are running this country, they know they racist. They know the world is looking. They don't care. You can't shame people who have no shame. Seriously, man. That's what is the purpose? The reason why it worked during the 60s because it shined a light on the hypocrisy in America. And America did not want that. That's it. That's it. If they could have, if there wasn't television, we would have never known about that. Because it's one thing to see pictures. It's one thing to see pictures of somebody getting beaten. It's another thing to see an actual video of them getting beaten. And these videos are being played around the world over and over and over and over and over every day during the 6 o'clock news for weeks. The point I'm trying to make is that drew it shined a light on America's bullshit.
Are you suggesting that they can outlast us?
Who, they can outlast us?
Yes.
No, they only got
okay.
They only got a few years.
With that question,
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this. The point I'm trying to make is this. The marching, let them march. We can be strategic in other ways. If you want to march. And that, as I keep saying,
but I'm not saying
we don't have to take the same path.
You and Donna missed my point. I'm not saying
you want us to go. What I'm saying is, the point. What you're saying is this: we need to. Well, you ain't let me finish it. I'm trying to tell you what your point is. At least what we're getting from it.
Go for it.
Sounds like the point you're trying to make is we need to be willing to sacrifice and give up, sacrifice ourselves for the greater good.
Well, no, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. That's a fallacy. Well, two things I'm saying. Right now, unless y'all can show me differently, we're losing. Unless y'all can show me differently. And I'm open-minded. I always tell people, it don't have to be my way. It just has to be effective. Right now, what I see, Marion, you chime in on this, what I see is they're just moving us further and further back with this strategy that we have. And because the strategy is not cool.
Okay, Leonard, let me ask you something. Okay, go ahead.
And since it's not our last to have zero shame. And the way I see it, again, that's just my interpretation of it. So let me be clear about that. Number two, you didn't make me forget my damn point. See, stop interrupting me, man. I ain't that young as I can stop.
I ain't make you forget nothing. That's called age.
Yeah, I know. That's what I just said. And I don't need you interrupting my stimulants to let me remember it 5 seconds ago. Okay, they don't last that long.
Write it down, old man.
Just they don't last that long. Okay, I need you to trying to get my point across. I don't see this long-term strategy. I think my little brother said to me one day best. I heard somebody else say it. It's a whole hell of a lot harder to get your rights back when you lost them than to keep them when you got them. It's a whole hell of a lot harder.
Okay.
So start losing rights.
I agree with that point. I agree. It's harder to get them back once you lost them.
Your strategy should be, we got to hold ground. America.
Okay, but we're not. See, this is the thing. What exactly can we do to hold ground?
Before you do that, I want to ask Marion, what do you mean by that? What's the point of what you're saying? I don't. Okay, this is a marathon, not a sprint. That's the part that's pissing me off. God damn, we got to do the marathon all over again. We've been that complacent that we done let ourselves put ourselves in a position we got to do the marathon all over again. It was a marathon from 1920 to 1964. That was 50 fucking years. We don't put ourselves in a position that we got to do it all over again.
It's actually 44 years.
Yeah, 40 something years. See, there you
Come
go.
on, Morehouse, man.
There you go again. You get me
it's
back.
Simple math. It's simple math now.
You get me back for earlier in the day. I got to give you that before you hitting hard too.
Well, I mean, see, the point Marion makes a very good point. It's not a sprint. And the thing is, if we keep worrying about the sprint, we're going to lose the marathon, because we're not the only ones being affected by this. We're not. And if we go out and march with them and all that stuff, that's still not going to change anything. But having a multi-pronged strategy and going at it from all angles that you can get it going from, that's going to be more effective. We just can't put all our stuff in. And like I said, in the 60s, we agree because we shamed them. We shamed them.
You and I agree on that. We agree on that.
Yeah. So the shame part ain't working no more. They give less than a damn about us marching. We can march all the way up to the White House, the front door of the Oval Office, and he still wouldn't give a damn. And his supporters wouldn't give a damn. What's going to change is really and truly our elected officials, those elected officials that support him, get to the point where they're like, damn, this is too much. And they're already saying that. They just won't say it publicly. If they started saying it publicly, they grew a pair of cojones and started saying it publicly, these things will start changing. But that's on them. And you're right, Marion. We've never had full rights. But what we're going to do is get back to the point where we can, and we're going to move forward. We're not going back. Sometimes you have to retreat a little bit to regroup, in my opinion. Using a military strategy. Where did he go? Oh, there. Yeah, sometimes you have to take a step back. Take one step back to take 2 steps forward.
Did you ask me where I went? I gave you the whole mic. So you really ran out of something to say?
You just disappeared,
you were talking.
Listen, dude.
You heard Don say you went on the segue. Normally you talk long enough for me to disappear to take care of something, but you just
want to make sure you was all right. You may have tripped and did something to your hip. I don't know.
Thank you, baby. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. The 13 to 14 member, hey, they're quoting Dr. King in their bill. Montgomery boycott was 385 days. I agree. You know, look, we can talk about that all goddamn day.
Hold on. How did he say that the 13th Amendment was failed? What part of the 13th Amendment failed?
I'm surprised that came from him. I'm shocked.
Yeah, because the 13th Amendment, it had several parts. But what part failed? I know one part was it didn't fail. It wasn't intended. Well, let's say this: the part about forced in basically re-enslavement if you're convicted of a felony. That part right there.
Wait a minute,
I can't even say that failed because they put that. There was a reason why that was put in there.
If you want to read,
I don't. So what part of the 13th Amendment is he talking about? And what part of the 14th?
I want to say this.
14th, equal protection under the law. I can see that part.
We needed that.
That one I can see.
That hasn't failed. That may not have come through its complete fruition, but compared to what we were getting, come on, y'all. Come on, man. You know
we talking about equal protection under the law?
Yeah. Compared to what we were getting, come on. We are such a forgetful people. Compared to what we were getting.
Let's say this.
Let me say this.
Hold on.
Let me give an example. During the 1920s washerwoman strike, when they voluntarily went on strike and they weren't making shit, and they were looking for a nickel more, they didn't have the equal protection that the sheriff sent out people to their houses to arrest them to make them wash white folks, linens, shirts, and all that stuff. So if you don't think we come better farther than that through that amendment, it hasn't always been equal protection, but it's way better than what it was. So it hasn't been right, Marion. It hasn't been a failure because, and I would say this about mass incarceration. If you go and pick up the book Slavery by Another Name, mass incarceration is just, you're right, 100%. That book delves in that from the day one, from the laws that went on the book throughout all the southern states, that they get together all the time. At the end of the day, here's what I'm saying. Then I'm going to give it back to Kenneth. Unless I just don't see it. I know it's a marathon, not a sprint. We don't like being uncomfortable in the slightest. Like, seriously, I've literally been trying to give up Facebook. The only reason I haven't given up Facebook is because of this show. That's it. I don't post on it. The only thing I really post on Facebook right now is political shit. That's it. That's why right now you can get this show on Kenneth's page and not mine. Because I don't even like the thought of being, I'm so addicted to social media and how it gives you some symbols of a platform that I've given up Facebook and Instagram. Even though Mark Zuckerberg has done what he's done, I don't know what his strategy is. We don't like to be uncomfortable. We don't like to give up our creature comforts to move the needle. We don't, and that goes to everybody. Once we get to a certain level financially, we don't want to give up any creature comforts. And they know that. And the last thing I'm gonna say is I've been saying this for a while. When I started off this about having a symbiote, we're in a symbiotic relationship throughout my lifetime. I'm gonna die, and it's gonna be a symbiotic relationship. And the reason it's a symbiotic relationship is because it's a white power structure that controls all the capital markets. We don't have access to that. The reason we have no place to go, I hate it when people go, oh, we can go sell something. No, the fuck you can't. There's not one country that's going to let a mass of African Americans, you can go 5 million come into their country welcoming open arms. They've changed the dynamic of their country. Not one African country is invited back, not one Middle Eastern country, not one Caribbean country, not one. They might invite 100 of y'all back, but you ain't going somewhere where you can get 5 million. Hell, it didn't even work well in Liberia. So the first thing you do is to recognize where you are. We're here. You could be disgusted, as tired as you want to be. But like I told Kenneth, I've been saying this for years, and I'm so glad that Kenneth said one amendment could have cleared it all. I'm sorry. All black men henceforth have the same rights as white men. Boom, boom. You got a point, but what uh, you if you aren't willing to say, I hear this all the time. Boy, you ain't gonna get no black athletes to go to HBCU. They don't have the same resources. You know what I always say? They ain't got the same resources because y'all don't go to HBCUs. That's why they don't have the same resources. They don't have the same resources because you ain't Watkins, South Carolina State, like it was when I went to my first HBCU football game against Florida A&M, two of the top ranked teams in the country, with 7 Hall of Famers between the two of those teams. 7. It's no you. Yeah, well, we don't get the same amount of NIL money. NIL follows where the athletes go. NIL, white athletes are going to follow where those black athletes go because they want to be athletic. None of us want to be uncomfortable. Don't want to be uncomfortable. It's hard coming off a campus of Georgia Tech and then walking to a campus of Morehouse and doing the comparison analysis. Like, God damn. So I'm open to whatever ideas y'all think will work, to be honest with you. But right now, I'm like, okay, we ain't moving the needle. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Kenneth.
Well, like Marion said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We're in a microwave society where we think we do one thing for a week and everything's gonna change. Everything's gonna be hunky dory and we're gonna be back to where we were. It's not like that. We can't will this in a week. It takes prolonged activism, prolonged. It takes intestinal fortitude. We can't do it quickly. So crippling, this country is about to be crippled economically. It's coming. We're about to be in a recession, and if we don't look out and things don't change, we'll end up in another damn depression. And it's going to be a depression caused by us, or at least our own government. Because all of the stuff that's going on now happened right before the depression hit. Exact same thing. Except for, well, let's say this. The tariffs were the biggest thing. Tariffs was one of the big things. Then the banks started failing. Now, mind you, we have mechanisms in place now that will prevent banks from failing. Or at least if banks fail, government insures everybody's money if the banks fail. But we are one disaster away from being in a depression. Let's be real. One real disaster. The one thing that came into play that we cannot predict, that was a huge factor, was that drought that took place in the 1920s into the early 30s. That 10-year drought played a huge factor in things. That was a natural disaster. We are one natural disaster away from that. One natural disaster away from another depression because of what's going on and who we have as president. And I understand what Stacey's point was about you're making a valid point. We have creature comforts. We don't want to give up our creature comforts. God forbid you can't have your Starbucks in the morning before you go to work. God forbid you don't have you can't binge watch Real Housewives of Atlanta, whatever the hell those stupid ass shows are now. God forbid that you can't that BMW that you want, you can't get that, so you got to get a domestic car. And even those things are now expensive, ridiculously expensive, and they're going to go up. So we do have our creature comforts that we don't want to give up. Um, but it's going to happen anyway. It's really going to happen anyway. We're going to have to. Too many of us are losing our jobs because of Doge, and people who don't even work for the federal government are being affected by that. People are losing their research jobs at universities where they were, trying to cure this disease or doing this research that would benefit mankind, and they can't even do it because they're cutting funding because Donald Trump is an asswipe, a used asswipe at that. It's just we have to buckle down. Just do what you can. That's it. Whatever that may be, your own special little protest, whatever it may be, do it. Because you never know when that little thing that you do can change the world. Because it can. Damn, that sounds so inspirational. I feel inspirational this morning.
Well, you be
I
on
feel so
inspiration.
inspirational.
You be inspiration. Take us out of there.
Oh, before I leave, I got to say this. I want to give a shout out to two students, and Leonard talked about this before. One of my mentee, they had honors day on Thursday at Glen Hills. So my brother Keith and I blessed one student with some funds to help him on this journey to college, journey to into college. He's going to Tuskegee, and he has a full ride to Tuskegee for a Marine Corps scholarship. So I'm very proud of him with that. Also, my class of '84, Glen Hills class of '84, we gave some money to a young lady who's also going to Tuskegee. It's funny how that worked out like that, but she got some money from us as well to help her on her journey. So I say all that to say this. I told the story the other night when I was giving out the scholarship. I said that I ended up having to drop out of Tuskegee because I owed Tuskegee $1,000. Now, at this point in my life, $1,000 is not really that much money. If I need to, I can come up with $1,000. 1986, that was a lot of money to me. So I said, I vowed recently that if I can help it, I never want a student to have to drop out of school because they're short $1,000. I'm gonna do everything I can to help those students. And these two young people, we helped them out. And I got this inspiration, actually. It wasn't something, an original idea. My friend, my classmate, Sonia Spratley, gives a scholarship every year to students at Clemson, where she graduated from. And I got that idea. I always thought that a scholarship had to be this grand amount. But over the years, I realized, especially when both of my kids were graduating from high school and going to college and all that, a few dollars, $100, $500, $1,000 can go a long way toward helping these students and their families. So if you can, find a student and bless that student when that's on its way to college or trade school, because they need money too. Find somebody and bless them. Give them a few dollars. Hell, a college student, when you see them, when they come home from college, buy them a meal. Something. Do something. When you go to homecoming, this young lady, and I didn't know her at Tuskegee, she came after I left, but every year at homecoming, she goes to the dorm room, the dorm where she lived, and goes to the room that she stayed in when she was there, knocks on the door, and gives the student, the two young ladies in that room, she gives them money every year at homecoming. She's been doing it for years. You never know how a simple blessing like that can affect somebody. as I meant to say this the other night, but I didn't get a chance to say it. I said in my journey, it took me 10 years to get my degree. And in my journey, I had people that prayed and paid for me. Prayed and paid for me. So all I'm doing is paying all of this forward. That's it. Uh-oh. I'm just paying this forward. I'm doing it because somebody did it for me. So y'all do it for somebody. Don't have to be a great amount. Do what you can. Same thing with the boycott. Do what you can when you can. You never know how much of a blessing that can be. Having said that, I apologize for not being getting on. Marion's AOL internet messed me up earlier. I'm gonna have to switch on to another internet service because this dial-up stuff ain't working now. So I'm gonna have to switch on to something else. So I won't have these glitches anymore. But y'all have a good week. Y'all be blessed. See y'all next week. Stay out of trouble. And deuces.
Thanks, y'all. Y'all have a good afternoon. A little rainy up here, so we'll see y'all next week and talk to you soon. Peace.